another nice thing about it is, I mean, the university isn't a huge university as far as universities go, but I mean, it's got, I guess, around 10,000 people, and one of the nice things about the Honors College is, and going to any university, I think, is making the university small for you, for a student. And I felt like an easy way to do that was to be in the Honors College, and obviously you're also surrounded with like-minded people who are motivated, and then also the teachers that are teaching in the Honors College also want to be teaching there. So you've got a bunch of people who want to be doing something that's like a little bit more accelerated, and the classes are a little bit geared to those people, and it's a nice way to obviously meet similar people, but it also helps make the university small for first-year students, I think, and gives them direction in a way that I think is helpful.
I have a little example of something. I was in the honors program when the program just started, and I think I took one of the first honors classes with a fantastic professor, Bob Taylor. And while I was here, I also studied art, and this was one of the first books that we read. It's by John Dewey, Artist Experience, and as you can see, it's in my bag right now. So it's I'm having like a true, coming back to this book and what I experienced, and actually even as an artist. So that's an example, really, like a real example for me to come back to this book 8 years later, which was wonderful to read and experience. So this is something, I think that's why, I think that honors college courses, at least in my experience, were full of these little gems that sort of just grow into these big ideas. Because I would say that most of my practice today as an artist is actually this guy. And by the way, he is buried on the campus. You should go see his grave. Nobody knows that. So for me, like...
I had a little bit of a different experience. I was just really dealing with a lot of challenges as a young woman of color moving from Los Angeles. And so, I really rebelled. I thought, what is this ethics class about? I don't know what they take now. But, you may have students who say, honors college is lame, I don't really like it, I feel like we have to do extra work. But I really came to love the fact that I was pushed to do a lot of things that I wasn't willing to do myself, but that I knew I was capable. And I think a great example of the mentors you'll find in the Honors College are people like Abu Rizvi, who was my ethics professor for my entire first year. And after that, knowing that I was really down on the curriculum, had created the Honors College Diversity Task Force, had moved on to harassing Dan Fogel, who later we still are in touch, and the university president, had really started to fight against, what I thought was this really strict curriculum, had entered the Presidential Commission for Racial Diversity. Who said you're really capable of more than activism, more than you're letting yourself believe, and encouraged me to apply for the Udall Scholarship, which is a scholarship given to 80 students nationally for environmental and tribal policy, work, activism, extracurricular activities, etc. So I applied for that, and I thought, I was the one of 5,000 in my high school in LA. How am I going to end up getting a scholarship? I did, and I really learned how to market myself, and how to see what was great about myself, and not think that it was conceited or too much to be bragging about, who I was and what I'd accomplished. I went on also with the Blues help to win a Truman Scholarship, which is for 65 to 75 students nationally in public service my next year, and was also finalist for the Rhodes Scholarship. And through all those experiences, I learned how to finesse, who I was and what I could be and what my future looked like, and constantly redeveloping what my future was going to look like. And I didn't end up getting the Rhodes, and Blue said, you're crazy for running for office. You have a great academic opportunity ahead of you. But I did, and it actually helped me to know so much about who I was from pursuing a lot of these opportunities in the Honors College. And I would add, some of you are probably already getting excited about your thesis. My thesis was on environmental policy in the state of Vermont, and I gave my recommendations to some of the legislators, and they helped me turn it into a bill before I decided to run for the House. So, it was, the Honors College was really integral to a lot of my success as I graduated.
I just wanted to talk more about the thesis aspect, because I noticed that most people haven't mentioned it. That was one of my favorite parts of the Honors College experience, because I know that I would have gotten into research anyway, just because that's, sort of
cover.
Yes.
We got it back here. That's great.
I wondered if maybe you guys could say something about what you experienced in the transition out of here and into your first workplace or workplaces. What is it that you remember most about that you learned from that, that you tell people coming behind you about those first few months out, even the first year out of it? What did you learn out of that?
I would say, for example, in my case, I mean, I picked a really problematic profession. I'm an artist. People ask me now, what are you going to do after you graduate? And I say the same thing I do now. I'm going to be an artist. There's not a job that a company will give me. I think in my case, it really taught me to be persistent and determined and not to give up. Because like I said, I went back once and then I came back and then went again. So I do think it prepared me for that. Because I think the experience, well, just because you learn, I think honors college gives you sort of examples from people like, John Dewey from me, for example, like the stories of people and their paths and teaches you that each path is individual, and as long as you have faith in yourself and confidence that it doesn't mean just because you fail once that you give up, you can get up and go again. I would say that is not important, like persistence.
I was thinking on the way here about how many advisors and mentors I had, because I had 2 degree programs. I was at honors college, doing all sorts of things. So I have 4 advisors, 3 academic thesis advisors. On top of that, mentors in the Center for Students of Color, here at the Rubenstein School. I had a lot of professors who I was in touch with, lots of friends, and when you're launching a political career and also wanting to touch base with people about how difficult it is to teach preschool in the daytime and knock on doors for 4 hours in the evening, even though it wasn't the most academic experience, I had a lot of support to fall back on. I had a lot of people who were curious about how my race was going, curious about how I was doing otherwise. If I didn't win, wanted to find a job. So, I mean, if you get out there and just invest and have people invested in your success, no matter what you do, I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, I would add advice. In terms of advice, I would add that coming out of school, not everybody knows exactly what they want to do, and so I'm a big advocate of looking ahead, planning ahead. So I would say early in your senior year, and then you want to start talking to people about this is what I'm good at, and this is what I like to do. I mean, the goal is to have meaningful work that pays your bills. And the earlier you start talking that conversation, and then once you know what you think you want to do, the earlier you start pursuing those specific roles or maybe those specific company, the more options you're going to have by the time. So I would say don't wait to think about what do you really want to do. What do you want to spend your days doing? Because have a job that you don't care about is...
Yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest transition was going from a mindset where you're